Good afternoon, being there, outdoor group and prepping concepts. Chip Jackson coming to you today on a Tuesday afternoon. I am off work and kind of just bumming it today, hence the retired attire. Wanted to make a quick video for you today. We're gonna make the tagline of this video today is "Are Preppers Crazy?" Right? A lot of people think we're conspiracy theorists and that we're nuts and all this other stuff. So let me touch on that real quick, and then we're going to get into the meat of this video. I'm going to talk about gear, I'm going to talk about food, about how to start creating a prepping plan, and how to start storing your food and gear, and a couple other things. So first, are preppers crazy? No, we've actually just taken the time to relearn some of the things that society has chosen to start to forget. A good example would be blacksmithing, carpentry, learning how to do basic things, right? Because society has kind of, in several different ways and for several different reasons, which we're not going to get into today, has moved away from that mentality, right? Everything is consumer. Buy, buy, buy. If I don't have one, I'll just go buy one. If that one breaks, I'll go buy another one. And part of the big concept of prepping is kind of the thing that you hear in some of the recycling circles: reuse, right? Make old new again, that kind of thing. So the preppers have a tendency to take what they have and make it last, and then if they find something old that somebody's kind of tossed away, they'll repurpose it. We'll find a way to reuse it. I'll give you a good example. I was living in Maine for a little while with my ex-wife, who shall remain nameless. But they, on their property, had an old corrugated sheet metal shed. You know, just those thin, quick toss-up sheds that you can put in your backyard real quick and store stuff in. And it, had been knocked down on the ground for years, but the sheets of metal were still intact and were in very good condition. So what I did is I took half of that and I made a firewood shelter, like a lean-to, right? And put a couple pieces of metal on the side, and then roofed it really nicely. Because if you've ever lived in Maine, you know that they get a buttload of snow, and you want to keep some wood under protection to keep it dry. Because my first winter there, I went through 9.5 cords of wood that winter. I basically, at a certain point, I started a fire in my fireplace, and that sucker didn't go out for months. Literally did not let the fire go out for months because it was that cold. We had several days of below zero, like -13, -18 for weeks at a time. Anyway, reuse, repurpose, right? Take old, make it new. So preppers are kind of indicative with that. So we embrace our inner MacGyver, shall we say. And if I just showed my age, if you don't know who MacGyver is, look it up. I'm not telling you. Okay, let's talk about food preps really quickly, because that's one of the more prominent things. And first, let me say, yes, food preps are important, but other preps are equally important. Sanitary items, medical items, gauze pads, band-aids, learning how to actually do stitches on somebody, having the sutures to do that, having the equipment to do that, having basic surgery stuff, and I actually have a couple of surgical kits in my stuff. Important. I have medical books that will help me, and I try to read through from time to time. And just both my parents were paramedics, and I've had a couple of, well, actually a lot of friends, now that I think about it, that were also paramedics, and I had one friend in the Army and one friend in the Navy. She was a corpsman and he was an Army medic, and they taught me a lot. So I'm actually I've treated a gunshot wound before, and the person did not die. And they're doing pretty good. Medical stuff really important. Hygiene stuff really important. Toilet paper, toothpaste, or alternatives to that. Always have a backup. Don't rely on one thing. You've heard me talk about in my other videos about fire starting. Don't rely on one method of fire starting. Have multiple methods. Have redundancy built into your prepping plan. Okay. So we're going to transition from our Preppers Crazy right into the meat of the video. And since I just talked about it, we're going to start with that. How to make a prepping plan. You need to make a couple of quick decisions right off the bat. How many people are going to be in your party? Is it just going to be you and your direct family, like your wife and your kids, or is it going to be like you, your wife, your kids, and the neighbor? Or you need to figure out your numbers and who you're going to have to deal with. And do they have medical issues that they're going to need medication for? Because if they do, you need to do everything possible, everything in your power, to try to stockpile that medication. I know that's hard because of how doctors, they don't like to prescribe stuff in excess, and we'll get into that later. There's some societal issues going on there, but we're not going to talk about that today because I don't want to get sidetracked. So try to get, if you can get generic of it, get generic of it. If you can get, if you can't get the pill, get the liquid. You know, whatever you can do just to have that medication. Especially asthma, people with asthma, really important, because if the services break down, you're in a shit hit the fan situation. Services are broken down. You no longer have access to your doctor. You can't get a new prescription. You can't call up Walgreens and say, hey, I need a new albuterol or whatever, you know, your particular asthma medication might be. I need a new inhaler or whatever. Not going to happen. You know, I would refer you to the movie World War Z with Brad Pitt, where his daughter had a breathing condition and they had to go to the pharmacy and take what they needed. And you saw the chaos, right? There's people everywhere that had that same idea, like, well, we need to go get what we need to go get. And now people who have not prepped are panicking, and that's when you start to have looting and violence. There's a saying in prepping circles, most people are 7 to 9 meals away from becoming total savages. So basically it means this: don't eat for 7 meals, right? Don't know where your meal is going to come from, right? You start to, in your brain, you start to go morality over here, food. I need food for me and my family or whatever, and they'll turn into a savage. Somebody who's usually friendly and cool with you will turn into a savage and try to, by force, take what you have for themselves. And make no mistake, there are people out there that are cool and awesome under any other circumstance. You put them in a survival situation, they're not so cool and awesome. Okay? So get you a good bug out box, something that's waterproof, airtight, that you can store your food in. Get you some ready-made shelters, tarps, some tents that you know how to use. There's hammock systems out there. There's all kinds of stuff out there, and these are things that I'm going to touch on in other videos: tents, hammocks, shelters, how to build shelter. All that's coming. All right, and I'm trying to build the community right now and lay down a baseline for you guys so that we can build from there. Okay, moving on from those things, right? Basic initial preps to what do humans need, right? You need shelter, you need food, you need hydration, right? Which is why you have to have those things. Let's move on real quickly because I'm trying to touch on a bunch of stuff. Firearms. I definitely encourage the use of firearms. I also strongly encourage getting training in the use of those firearms. Go to what's called the First Shot course. Most cities and counties and states offer some variation of this course. This is a course that is specifically designed for people who have never had exposure to firearms before. They take you from A to Z, beginning to end, cleaning, maintenance, safety, everything. Right? What's the first rule of firearms? Treat every gun like it's loaded. Second rule of firearms: don't point your gun at anything that you're not willing to destroy. Right? Third rule of firearms: check your background, know what you're shooting at, and know what's behind it. Fourth rule of firearms: you are responsible for that firearm. Doesn't matter if you're in the room or not. If it's your gun, you are responsible for that gun. Don't walk away from it. Don't leave it unattended. If you're at the range, don't set it down and walk down range. Have that gun with you. You are responsible for that firearm. That tool is your tool. Do not shirk your responsibility with that tool. The tool is only as good as the person using it. Just like a computer is only as good as the person punching in the information. Well, you're the person punching in the information, so Life is kind of like a cassette tape. It's going to play back what you record. And if you record stupidity, you're going to get played back stupidity. Just being straight up with you guys. I'm not calling anybody stupid. I'm just saying be smart, especially when it comes to firearms and especially in our current climate. Okay, yes, I'm going to come out right here, right now, and say I am pro Second Amendment. I am a constitutionalist. I believe in the Constitution of the United States. I believe in the Bill of Rights, and I believe in the Declaration of Independence. I call them the three pillars of our republic. Moving on, we're not talking about politics today. All a firearm is a force multiplier. Same reason why you pick up a bat, pick up an axe, tomahawk, pick up a knife in a combat situation. You're multiplying your ability to inflict damage. You're picking up a force multiplier to give yourself a better chance of survival. Firearms, no different. Body armor, yes. Ammunition, yes. The standard prepper adage, 1,000 rounds per caliber. That's to be stored and saved, and then you buy what you need to train and shoot target. And you should, a couple times a month, be using your firearm in a training situation and pushing yourself to get better constantly. Always, 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 always level up, level up, level up. Moving on. Food storage, I think I talked about that. Get you a nice sealed container. Nice, something that's airtight, watertight, something that you can grab quickly and put in your car if you got a split. The way I have my stuff set up is I have stuff in certain drawers and in certain spots. I grab about a dozen things, put it in my vehicle, grab my animals, grab my secondary gear that I have set up in a couple of strategic spots in my house, and then I'm gone. And I've got everything I need to do what I need to do. Axes, chainsaws, spare fuel, the whole 9 yards. Clothing. Talking about gear right now, so we're going to talk about clothing. Outdoor specific clothing is a must. Cotton is bad. Cotton, when it gets wet, takes a really long time to dry and will wick heat out of you faster than you will believe, and it will put you in a hypothermic situation even when it's still hot outside. It gets a little cool, sun goes down, now you get a problem. Wool is good for almost any situation because wool will retain 80% of its thermal capabilities even when soaking wet. And it's pretty durable, especially the manure wool out there now. Some of the wool blends that are out there now are amazing. I use a couple of sites for my gear. One of those is budk.com, awesome knives and edged weapons, stuff like that, bows, all that good stuff. I use campmore.com. They have a superb food section for camping food, and their gear is really good and reasonably priced. Their self-named gear, their Campmore line of equipment is good. I've used it. It's well made, and it lasts. I still have some of their shirts, and they're still going strong. I stay away from REI, kind of, forgive me, but a little bougie for my tastes, and overpriced. Just overpriced. Find you a little outfitter, like, a little local place that does canoeing and rafting and stuff like that. They'll usually have camping gear, and you can start at least getting your hands on some stuff like, I like this, I don't like that, I don't like the feel of that. Another good one is tacticalgear.com. Outstanding gear. What's another one? skd.com. Outstanding tactical gear, and sells body armor of all different types and variations, even and everything in between. Pouches, everything. Helmets, everything. Reasonably priced. Body Armor Outlet is who I use for my body armor. They are a law enforcement and military supplier, and just recently started supplying the civilian market. And their stuff is pretty reasonably priced and is tested. It is legitimately certified. What's it? NIG, I believe it's called. NIG certification. And I have some of their steel plates and some of the ceramic plates. Good stuff. It's good stuff. Those are AR500 has a bad reputation. I've been hearing a lot of bad things about their steel plates lately, which stay away from their gear. I don't usually disparage companies, but you're talking about something you're literally putting your life behind. Like, you're putting that piece of armor over you to protect you. You don't want it to fail. So, and I've heard they fail. I've heard their ceramic plates are good, but are susceptible to heat failure. And I heard their steel plates are trash. That high velocity round will literally make the plate shatter, which is insane to me. But okay, moving back on. Backpacks, get you a good backpack. You gotta have shelter, tents, hammock systems, all that stuff. I'm gonna talk about this stuff in other videos. I'm trying to keep this short and sweet, under 20 minutes, and touch on a bunch of different things. Socks, lots of socks. If you're gonna be out in the wild, outdoors, I take at least 7 pairs of socks. You want to change your socks throughout the day constantly to keep your feet dry, to avoid creating what's called hot spots, which are going to turn into blisters and problem spots later. Make sure your boots fit properly. One thing about gear, boots, knives, all that stuff, and this is something that I have come to find out the hard way a couple of times. Good gear, good boots, good knives are not cheap, and cheap boots, gear, knives, etc. are seldom good. You get what you pay for, get your hands on this stuff, and figure out what it is so that you can use it and how to use it. Know how to use it before you need it. You don't want to be trying to learn it in a bad situation, in a stressful situation. You want to have already trained with that equipment. You want to have already gone out with that equipment and know what it can and can't do, which means you're going to have to go out and put yourself in situations where you're going to experience weather, where you're going to experience adversity. Adversity is what makes you better, right? That's another thing in prepping that we tend to focus on, is getting better, training, right? Getting better here, getting better here, getting better here, in our minds, in our bodies, and in our hearts, hopefully. Now, there are some crazy guys. There are some fringe types out there that you get in any group, and some preppers, yeah, they're probably crazy, but it doesn't hurt to be prepared. It's an old school mindset. Like, I want everything that I can possibly have so that I can not just survive but thrive. Okay, water filtration, gotta have it. If you're talking about real deal prepping, you're gonna want tactical gear. You're gonna gas masks and things like that, right? This in case you need it, not so that you can go out and perpetrate idiotic acts of violence on people. It's just to be prepared. Okay, this is why sometimes we're viewed as conspiracy theorists, whatever. You'd be surprised at how easy it is to build these things up, to build your preps up, to build your food up, to build your gear up, to build your clothing up, to build your water filtration systems up, to prep up at your current location, and then have a kit with you in your car or on your person so that you can get to that location, hunker down, bug in, and then if you need to later, get everything squared away and then bug out. Okay, so that's just a quick video that I wanted to make for you guys today. Just touching on some really basic stuff. You can take it in small steps and increments. Every time, say you go to the store, walk through Walmart's camping section, you can find all kinds of freeze-dried foods. There's great companies out there. Wise, 4 Patriots, their food is outstanding. A little on the pricey side, but they got like 48-hour and 72-hour kits that you can buy, and you can use that to incrementally build up your stuff. Their potato soup is the truth. Their Wise, their soups are all really good. They have freeze-dried pie fillings and just an amazing amount of stuff. You Campmore, and then there's Mountain House and Alpine. These are all companies that make and sell camping and freeze-dried foods. Alright, so this is just a quick one to give you guys a basic idea and maybe steer you in a direction so that you can start formulating your prepping plan. Are you going to need to bug in? You're going to need to bug out. Make sure you have at least 30 days worth of food for each person, medical stuff, all that. Okay? Stay awesome. Stay safe. Stay strong. Remember, half the pleasure, half the joy is being there. Another one coming soon, guys. Stay awesome. Talk to you later.